Hey guys, J77 back again with a special What's News, the first one and pretty much the last one until next year. I will be still doing news separately, but because of the obviously recent move, you see this nice white wall behind me. Um, is I'm still getting a little bit adjusted towards the new environment. A lot of stuff been going on back and forth, and once again doing another schedule behind my already work schedule because my work is a little bit more further now to where I gotta go. I'm back in Brooklyn. My work is in Manhattan, and the trains here is pretty much tricky, especially when they're not running the way they're supposed to be run. But in any case, I thought it'd be best to talk about some stuff, the events that's happened in the past few weeks. One of the biggest events that has taken place, of course, the passing of Mandela. He died at the age of 95. I was actually doing laundry when Channel 7 Eyewitness News had reported on him, and they did a fantastic job of talking about Mandela, his legacy, what he actually meant to the world. And I'm just going to throw it out there right now. To me, we lost not only a great leader, a great world leader, but one of what I consider the last civil rights, a true civil rights leader in many ways, because he wanted unity. He went to jail for what he believed in, and pretty much after 27 years, you would think that his mental well-being could be broken, but it made him even stronger and even more wiser. Became the president and really unified the country that many people never thought possible. My uncle told me stories about how the rugby team played an important part of his legacy. And after seeing the movie that Clint Eastwood had made, I can see why. He is a remarkable man, and of course, his legacy will go on forever throughout the test of time, and as well as it should. Now, of course, you have people out there who, instead of learning from this man's achievements as well as his mistakes, you have them trying to capitalize on their own political agenda. No surprise there. Rick Santorum is one of them. A lot of other people, as way and as what he have done, is the same thing as battling Obamacare. How you make up that two comparison is beyond me. But this is just go to show just how many people will use something like this to fill their own agenda rather than just talk about the accomplishments of what this man have done. Um, this is no surprise, and don't be surprised. In the coming months, you may see some special programming suggesting the dark side of a Mandela, showing what stuff that was not kept in the brightest of light, stuff that surrounded his family as well as some of his shortcomings, because TV shows like ratings. But nevertheless, people are remembering him. People are embracing what he has done. He's going to be well missed. And again, I can't stress this more clearly. He is the last true civil rights leader the world have ever known. We have leaders, but we never had a leader like he had. He is pretty much up there with Gandhi, Martin Luther King. He's right there with them, and because he wasn't just fighting for equality for one specific group of people, he was fighting for all. He wanted to unify everyone. Many people, and this is something that is so true, when he got elected, a lot of whites was very scared of what he may do if he actually rained down fury on them the same way that their laws have suppressed the blacks in South Africa, and he didn't do that. He forgave them. He wanted unity. He wanted to want the country to heal and be one again, and that was why he is so loved by all sides here. Of course, again, people try to remind that he was a communist, he was this and that, and the only thing I gotta say is this: it's funny how a lot of people bring up that one thing because of the deal with Castro, and yet we still can't explain why we deal with a communist country when it comes to corporations. I am talking about China. Okay, China is not a democracy; it is a communist country. Yet we do business with them all the time. All right, so I always kind of find it confusing. We can do business. We can't do business with Castro and Cuba because they're a communist country. They're oppressing their people. but China's track record isn't great at all. When it comes to human rights, and yet we're still doing business with them. We opens our borders to them when it comes to their goods. So I think there's always a bias when it comes to that situation. I always felt if the person don't have the money or the resources that we want, we will shut them out. But if they got someone we need, well, we'll just ignore the stuff he does and just do business like that. It's good for the country. It's good for us. So I feel there's a bit of a hypocrisy when it comes to that situation. Um, but I'll let you guys decide on that. That is something of something I want to throw out there because it is something that's been popping up on Twitter, on Facebook, and people who really didn't see Mandela as a great leader, but more as a terrorist in their eyes. There are a lot of people who feel that way, but I will give them the respect. At least they're consistent. Some of the people who are saying stuff like that are consistent, especially those who actually had lived in Cuba and actually they settled in Cuba. I can actually understand where they may feel a little bit of bitterness, especially from a leader who did not treat them well during that very tough time in that island. So keep that in mind. I'm not totally blind by what other people are saying is. Um, there was also some story across the Paul Walker situation. That was a shocker a few weeks ago. As you know, he passed away at the age of 40, very, very young. It was a very surprise to me for a lot of reasons because when I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was playing with me. A friend of mine where I used to live at mentioned that, and even when he mentioned it, and even after I saw the papers and that car being mangled the way it was, I still was in denial that this actually happened. Um, and I know people say you shouldn't be in denial, but when you hear a name like that, especially the kind of movies he make, and to him to die in the way he did, it still blows your mind as to what happened. And you're starting to see a lot of specials, which I'm not turning on to at all, because all it is just um, pretty much profiting over his death, and I really don't want to get into it. But the point is how he died, and the stuff that was going on after that really did shock me. It shocked pretty much the Hollywood industry because he was just coming from a charity event, and for that to happen, many people felt that the guy was speeding at an alarming rate and lost control of the car and hit a tree, and it just burst into flames. And after hearing the autopsy result, it's just like wow, uh, a very strong reminder as to how one's life can be gone just like that. No matter how much money you have, how much fame you have, you cannot elude death. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. And man, oh man, I just I seen some of the reports of it. I seen some of the memorial service. Tyrese was pretty much broken up. He was heartbroken. Seeing him cry made me cry a little bit because that was it's painful. These guys worked together for my God, like was it like 10, 13 years together making these movies. Tyrese was in the second film. They worked together when it was just him and Paul Walker. Then they all united when right after the events, before the events of Tokyo Drift, which is Fast and Furious 4, and they've been working ever since. So they was on the midst of working on Fast and Furious 7, and now who knows what's going to happen to that. I know they had an emergency meeting last week to discuss how to go forward. If I got an honest opinion about this, I would just say like this: hold it back for a year. I feel if them hold it back for a year. I know that's probably not going to do that, but I would have hold it back for a year because to me, it's kind of hard for me to see those actors get on the screen and move on, knowing knowing that the pain is still fresh in their minds, knowing the fact that they just lost someone who they were close to is still fresh in their mind. To me, it'd be best just to cease operations for now, and just basically allow a cool off period and then come back. Would I replace the actor? Honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Um, I don't know if you kill off the actor during the film or do you just basically add a new actor to take his place. I honestly don't know what Universal Studios is going to do. I will say I have confidence in them doing the right thing more so than in their studios. I think the fact that they actually have donated some of the proceeds to the DVD of Fast and Furious 6 to the charity that which he was working so hard for is a good sign. So I have no real problem of what route they go. I don't. The last thing I hope they don't do is do what a lot of other films and even television did when a famous star had passed away, and that is try to exploit it by using stock footage or just basically trying to basically erase him from the set without actually acknowledging who this person is. We've seen a lot of that happen, and it made the show even worse, and eventually it killed the franchise. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to handle it well, especially as Vin Diesel has a say because he does have a lot of say in what these films are. That and especially Riddick. So I do think they're going to handle it well. But if you want my opinion, just hold it back for 1 year. Instead of putting it in 2014, probably put it out early 2015. It gives time to heal. It gives time to actually reevaluate the script, and if necessary, give you a chance to find a replacement for Paul Walker. And I think that's the best way to go forward instead of doing a rush job. You guys may disagree. I'd like to hear your opinion on that situation. And I will be looking at the other opinion because this is something that a lot of people are talking about, whether you like them to talk about it or not. But keep in mind, the movie industry has to move on, and it depends on how the best way to go forward with the latest installment. That's what everybody's going to be looking at more now than ever. Locally, guys, I mean, in case you guys have been following, I did 2 videos on this. I have been keeping an eye on what's been going on. But it seems that a deal is close to being reached, an amendment, a Shoppers Protection Act that's pretty much close to being signed. And this is because of the incidents that have been going on with Barney's, Macy's, along with other retailers who have been profiling certain shoppers, particularly minority shoppers. It has given a nickname "Shop and Frisk" because a lot of the minorities who go and shop there was stopped by police, taken to jail because they believed that the car that was stolen or they stole something from the store. This led to 3 incidents, not one, but 3 incidents, both from Barney's, one from Macy's, where actually a well-known star was profiled there, which Macy's and Barney's all deny of them profiling. Yet the fact is that you have these stores, which are high-class stores. These are very expensive stores. That their name came up twice, and the fact that some of these stores are connected to major stars who are selling products in their stores. The fact that NYPD, who's already been embattled by the stop and frisk situation, now putting themselves in even more situation with Barney's, and to the point where now Barney's is having a monitoring system to monitor them. You got to ask yourself, what the hell is going on, and what can we do to actually avoid this happening again? Well, apparently, thanks to Al Sharpton and a couple other civil rights leaders, they've gotten together with these retailers. It was reported last week they was in a meeting together, and they pretty much came up with an agreement. Now, the agreement is pretty much is to ensure the safety and protection of the shoppers, that they don't just get profiled by the cops or by any of the store management for that matter, which is something that's becoming a major issue, especially with these big chains who has very strong ties with the police. Now, many people believe that they shouldn't have no ties with them at all. They should have their own security system, their own security in place. But the fact of the matter is that the police do have a contract with them. I don't necessarily agree with that, but they do have a contract with some of these retailers. They even have their own jail in some of the retailers. I know Macy does. I'm not too sure if Barney does, but I know Macy does. And so they, at time to time, they have to respond to these reports. Keep in mind, shoplifting do exist, and Macy's, Barney's, and a lot of other retailers do get targeted for shoplifting a lot. So that's is a pretty much like this when it comes to the situation. But when someone is calling on a suspicion that their call may not be real, even though I work in customer service myself, one it's not that easy to fraud a card. You need to have a specific code to do for if it's approved. We have the right to ask for ID, and if the person don't give ID, we have the right to say no, we cannot take the card. Which, unless to Barney's credit, they did do that. So the question is why they didn't end there is still a mystery by itself. But the point is, there's been a lot of issues with this, and now, which it should never have been late to this in the first place, but now there's an amendment that may actually get passed. It's going to get passed in New York, and hopefully that will at least diminish the curve or stop it altogether. I don't think it's going to stop altogether because you have human error, and humans sometimes act irrationally, especially when they feel that that person who is going to a store that is expensive. And believe me, Barney's, um, Saks, Tiffany's, these are not cheap stores. You're not coming there expecting to spend $20. You're just coming there to expect to spend almost $100 to $1,000 in items, or one item for that matter. These are not cheap places. And sometimes when you have a retail, they look at some people and they look at their clothes, they look how they walk, they look how they talk to people, and they automatically say, "What is he doing here? This guy don't have the money to buy here. Why is he in my store?" And it happens. It happens a lot more than what people think, and they target young people more than they would to target an adult dressed in a suit and tie. They're just not gonna. It just that's how it is. So this amendment is supposed to ease that curve, or pretty much eliminate it altogether. Um, More details is going to be coming out throughout the days going forward. I do expect to get passed, but and how with these stores implemented, that's pretty much something I'm going to be also keeping an eye on. I do know one thing: the Barney police situation last week, when it was reported by the Young Turks and David Packman, and especially with Fox News, it's getting weirder and weirder by the day. Because now they're making security cameras. I mentioned this earlier. They are actually going to be monitoring the police, which makes no sense. Why are you monitoring the police? Unless you're telling us that the cops are undercover in that building, that's acting like shoppers, are actually stationed there. And if they are stationed there, who's putting up the tab to be there for them to be there? I'm just saying, it's something weird about that. And Barney, to me, is they're trying to cover their necks. They've been finger pointing against the cops. The cops have been finger pointing against them. I'm going to be straight up for it. I'm putting this more on Barney's than I am with the cops. Yeah, the cops made a mistake of arresting people for no reason, but they was called to that scene. They had if nobody called them, this would not have been an issue. If somebody called them and say, "Hey, look, we expect this person was stealing," they was dressed in plain clothes, so they obviously was dressed undercover, and they stopped them. Now, unless you're telling me that the cops are actually been stationed there the whole time, one may ask why they stationed there, and on the taxpayers paying for them to be there in your store. And that's the question I think that definitely needs to be asked. But moving right along. Yep, yep. It's been weird weather. Very weird weather. Rockefeller Tree has been lit up, and in this part of Rockefeller Center in New York City was almost impossible to move. Wednesday was impossible. Friday and Saturday was impossible. Saturday was just insane. I don't know what was going on Saturday, but Saturday you couldn't move. People who work with me, we were just stuck there. It's something about that tree. It's something about that area in Rockefeller. Something about Times Square in general, that when it comes to holiday, everybody wants to be in that one isolated area. That one area where they can see the Christmas tree. It could be at Times Square. It could be in the center of it all. And it was crowded, and it was also very dangerous because traffic was at a standstill. Cabs did not care. They just want to go past people, and they didn't slow down for nothing. And one of them got in trouble because they almost hit a walking pedestrian. Even when that person had the light, they didn't want to wait. They just want to try and run them over. But this is the situation that's been going on, been happening. But there was a concert there. It was a good outing. Bloomberg, for the very last time, lit the tree. But it was a very overall good festivity. Everybody was in the spirit, especially during the cold, watery days. Everybody was in the spirit. Everybody was having a good time, and that's actually a good thing. That's one thing I will say about New York. It does bring out at times the best of people, even those who are normally cranky and just didn't want nobody bother anybody. They bring out the best of them, and I had a good time talking to a lot of people there who was there to help, just to look at the tree and enjoy themselves and move on. But like I said, working in those conditions is like it's mayhem. It really is. It is definitely one for the road. Other than that, it really has been a very so news week for New York, with the exception of what our Archbishop had said, or Cardinal, I believe. Sorry, Archbishop. Cardinal have said something that I do not particularly agree with. I kind of find it funny that every time when the church is in the spotlight in a negative way, they try to reverse their feelings on something, uh, or try to make it something that they're not. But the reality is, and because the Cardinal have said something about the gay movement, like they like to call it, because they said that the church is being under attack because of their stance on gay marriage and pro-choice. Um, he basically saying that that's not true at all. We're not anti-gay. We're not against women. Hollywood seemed to paint a very negative picture. We just feel that the family values. We just feel that the sanctuary of family values should be kept. That is between marriage between a man and woman. Whether you believe that or not, that's fine. I don't. That's not the issue. Why I have a problem with the Cardinal's words. My problem with the words is very simple. The Cardinal claims that the church is not anti-gay, yet in the news this actually happened. A teacher who the church knew he was gay was fired because he requested a marriage license. And you're wondering why people think that you're anti-gay. Keep in mind again, this church knew he was gay. He was a teacher at the school, at the Catholic school. They knew he was gay, but because he applied for a marriage license, that became a problem to them. And so they react, their initial reaction is, we got to fire him. How are you, that's not anti-gay? I'm curious. All right. You're anti-gay because you have a strong stance against them. You do preach hateful things against them. That's why people are saying that you're anti-gay. And listen, I'm not saying that you should agree with the gay marriage. I understand that. You don't want to marry people in your church. I have no problem with that. That's fine. But could you do me a favor? Keep your views, your church views, out of government business. That's all I'm saying. All right. And please stop pretending that you guys don't preach hatred towards homosexuals, because you do. I had a front row seat to some of these things that you guys say, and it was very uncomfortable. You guys made a play about it. It was very uncomfortable. You have reverends speaking hateful things. It's very uncomfortable. Some of the most famous stars, Kirk Cameron, Patterson, who I can't stand, by the way, talk negative about it. You can't say you're not anti-gay when your actions says otherwise. And that's the whole thing. Your action says otherwise. Sometimes you got to practice what you preach. You preach love and times for all. Preach love and times for all. That's all. That's all I'm going to say on that situation. I'm going to cut it short, guys. That's pretty much it because I got a lot of work to do. As always, I will listen to your comments below. I will leave some articles relating to the story, especially the Mandela thing. This is going to be pretty much top news for the entire week and perhaps even the entire year leading up to probably the end of January, because it is a big news. I'd like to hear your opinion on what I've said. I'd like to hear your opinion on what you guys' view of Mandela, if you've been around. I tell you straight up before I go, how I first heard of Mandela surprisingly was not in the news. I'm going to bring this up again, perhaps in another separate video, because I do want to do a separate video, how I know Mandela. It was probably going to be a flashback review on my second channel, because it was that movie that got me to open my eyes as to A, who Mandela was, B, how this country is a big spoil because we don't know how good we have it versus other countries who is, I'm telling you right now, they live their lives every day, say lives, because the way things are with the wars, with the attack on human rights, just with dictatorship running amok is ridiculous. We got it, despite how crazy this country is, we have it good here. It's not as bad as other countries. That is, and Mandela showed me that racism still exists all over the world. Basically suppression still exists, and basically just treating other people like dirt because their colored skin still exists. It opened my eyes very, very much. And this movie was the real reason for it. Because, again, I didn't fully understand who Mandela was until that movie was. And in case you want to know what that is, it was Sarafina. It was based on a play, and it became a movie. And I was going to keep Sarafina as a review for season 4, but in honor of Mandela, I'm probably going to do a flashback review no later than probably January, because I have already had a schedule ahead. So I'll probably put that in as a January review and talk about that movie, because that movie was very, very deep. I came in there with the wrong perception, because the way the poster and the trailer had it, I didn't get that this was actually an historical event film. It was a musical, but it was also a historical event film. And when I saw it, I'm like, whoa, this film is a lot more deeper than I thought. But I was glad I saw it, because now I know who Mandela was, and I actually followed it. And it was way later until our teacher started talking about him. School did not teach Mandela. We found out from international news that when it was a possibility they may be president, that's when all the news started talking about him, and that's when the people started asking questions. Who was Mandela? When he came to New York, it was a big, big thing. It was a very big thing. And when he won presidency, it was even a bigger thing. So yeah, that movie really opened my eyes to find out who he was, and ever since then I learned to find out what's going on with him ever since. So that will be pretty much my official flashback movie review later on this January. But until then, guys, I'd like to hear your opinion on it, on about other stories. And as always, this is J77 saying take care, be safe,